Good morning to everyone joining us on PBA YouTube. I'm $2 Phil Brylo. We've got practice underway here from Bolero Mount Prospect. We'll take you down the full gamut of players coming up after practice is completed. We'll introduce you to everybody on the squad, including PBA elite player Kyle Troop. We'll do a lot of following of Kyle during the first couple of games. And after game 2, that's when Norm Duke will be joining us here in the booth. Duke here for opening weekend. He'll be part of our opening ceremony starting at 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 here in Mount Prospect. So be sure to join us back here for our opening ceremonies for this third edition of the PBA LBC National Championships. And if you're looking to follow Kyle Troop the entire day, he's starting on lanes 29 and 30. So you can follow Kyle pair by pair. We'll give you the update on lane movement at the conclusion of each game. As we have almost all of our pairs in play here on this opening squad. Only pair not in use, 33 and 34. We use 32 lanes, 64 bowlers at a maximum for each squad of this PBA LBC National Championships. So we'll give you that player movement towards the conclusion of each game. So the best thing to do, double tab us. If you click on the description underneath the video you're watching, if you haven't gone full screen yet, you'll see all the lanes listed and all the pair feeds occurring on each squad. And then you can go to your favorite pair, right click, open it up in a new tab, and then keep us on here in the main feed because we'll give you some updates. We'll follow hot hands. Like if somebody's going after their mini Duke, that's right, any player who shoots 300 during a LBC National Championships event will take home the mini Duke. Of course, the large Duke, the huge Duke, that'll go to the champion of the LBC Clash, date of which to be determined, along with location. As if you remember last year, Gianna Brandolino, who's local to the Chicagoland area here, took down Chris Prather in the final round of that LBC Clash from Bayside Bowl in Portland, Maine, to take home the $60,000 top prize for the Clash. Take a peek in on the Pro with a Fro. There you see Kyle Troop. Kyle's on the same pair with his fiancée, Brianna, and Brianna's son, Connor, also on the pair. So a little family affair for Kyle and Brianna. That's one of the neat things about the PBA LBC National Championships too. You can bowl on a pair with friends. You can request that when you sign up. It's not too late to sign up. PBA.com/LBC Championships. And you two can make your way to Blair Mount Prospect and take your chance of taking down, if you're in the Open Classic division, it's $25,000 guaranteed on top. Now, Kyle Troop, being a PBA Elite Pro, so nobody's bowling against Kyle on this squad. He's in his own division. But there's plenty of players in the Open Classic division. They'll pay $25,000 to the winner. Here you see Brianna Stewart. She's bowling in the Women's Classic division. There's a Senior Classic as well that are scratch divisions that pay $5,000 guaranteed on top. And our remaining 4 divisions with men's and women's handicap, boys and girls handicap, those are all paying, well, actually, the men's and women's handicap are $5,000 on top. The boys and girls handicap, $2,500 guaranteed on top. Just a few minutes of practice remaining, and then we'll be underway here from Blair Mount Prospect. We'll give you the field rundown all the way across the house during Game 1. And our opening squad of the 2025 edition of the PBA LBC National Championships will be underway.
PBA LBC tournament players. This is your 2-minute warning. You have 2 minutes remaining in practice. 2 minutes, 2.
Good morning to everyone joining us in the chat. Like I said, should be around 10:30 after the Game 2 is complete, just before 10:30. We'll have Norm Duke in the booth. So once Norm gets here, go ahead, feel free to leave your questions in the chat. We'll try to have Norm get to a few of them. No guarantees he'll get to all of them. But it's always good to see Norm, have Norm with us in the booth. And even though he hasn't touched the bowling ball competitively in nearly 3 years, PBA fans still love Duke. All right, we are underway. Practice is completed, and we are now going to be bowling for score here at Blair Mount Prospect. Let's give you your bowlers on 3 and 4.
Okay, PBA LBC tournament bowlers, your 10 minutes of practice is now complete. Before we get started, a reminder that when everyone on your pair is finished with each, please make sure to hit the space bar to move your scores to the next pair. All right, give everybody a round of applause to start this squad. All right, good luck and good scoring.
All right, and with the announcements from PBA LBC Tournament Director Neil Stremmel, Neil, a man of many hats, course, he's the man in charge of all the research and testing for the PBA. And there you see Luke Switalski starting things off, solid 9-pin. Luke, a young man who's done some great things in the PBA Junior program. Luke just slicked down a sweeper last night at Strike and Spare 2 in Lockport. I was there last week. Many of you may have caught it on the PBA YouTube channel last week. Switalski had a big finish there in that regional and took down a sweeper last night at Strike and Spare 2. Switalski bowling with Derek Schaub. Both those players in the Open Classic division. Scott Englert's in the Senior Classic, and Thomas Benka, see the southpaw, he is in the Boys Handicap division. Next door, we've got Andrew Yang and Rick Gates both bowling in the Men's Handicap division. Frank Miller is in the Open Classic division. And Ron Gates in the Men's Handicap division. We'll stick with them for another shot or two, and then we'll work our way down the field. Hey, Luca from the UK. Hopefully the weather's as nice there across the pond as it is here in the Mount Prospect area today. High near 70, sunny skies outside. So once these bowlers are done with their LBC 6 games of competition, they'll be able to enjoy indoor or outdoor activities in the surrounding area. And a successfully converted 5-pin for Yang. Let's get over to our next feed lanes, 7 through 10 on 7 and 8. We have Ray Reese in the Open Classic division, Steve Frentz in the Men's Handicap division, Adam Jankowski in the Open Classic division, and Vanessa Williams in the Women's Handicap division. Over on 9 and 10, Andrew Taylor in the Senior Classic, Roger Lashley in the Men's Handicap, Jeannie Lashley in the Women's Handicap, and Joshua Einsweiler in the Open Classic. So a couple of young players like Switalski and Einsweiler moving up a notch and deciding to take on the big prizes in the Open Classic division instead of bowling in the Boys Handicap division. They do have the right to do that. Players under 18 years of age and they want to move up. That's what we had Gianna Brandolino do last year, as Brandolino moved into the Women's Classic division, had a second place finish there, and then parlayed that into the $60,000 at Bayside Bowl as the LBC National Championships class champion. Oh, speaking of champions in the chat, Mark Blaha, the man who took down the $25,000 in the Open Classic division last year, gave it a good run in Portland. No, he had a blast at Bayside Bowl. And Mark, yeah, I can't wait to see you end of the month as you try to defend your title. It's only a third edition of the event. And I kind of thought last year, and I know Mark was nervous because he was watching all the squads as they went through, see if anybody knocked them off when our original Open Classic Division champion in 2023, Trey Heinrichsmeyer, who finished with a 300 in 2023, started his 2024 competition with another perfect game. So he's the only player with 2 mini Dukes, which are awarded for 300 games in the LBC National Championships. And Blaha was sweating it out at home for a little bit. But Heinrichsmeyer faded off a little bit, and Blaha held on for another couple of weekends to take home that Open Classic title. Yeah, next squad starts 2 p.m. Eastern. So your squad times normally on most weekends will be 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. local time. So that's 10 a.m., 3 p.m. Eastern time. Some squads, some weekends later in June, the last 2 weekends of June, we'll have also 7 p.m. special squads, as we've got some big squad sponsors that are bringing in full squads that are taking up the 2 o'clock squads on some days. So they've added 7 p.m. squads on some Saturdays. Our Sunday squad times every day except for Father's Day will be 11 a.m. We're not going to have any activity on Father's Day this year. And we'll have a couple of special squads as well, as on Tuesday, June 17th, there's going to be a 7 p.m. squad, and that's for youth players only, as that's in conjunction with the PBA Junior World Series of Bowling that's being held here that particular week, right here at Bolero Mount Prospect. And then on Friday, June 21st, Friday, June 20th, pardon me, Friday, June 20th, there will be a special squad at 1 p.m. on that Friday for PBA 50 tour players. They'll be starting the PBA 50 South Shore Open after that weekend, and there's a PBA 50, PBA 60 doubles at a nearby bowling center that Saturday and Sunday. So to give the PBA 50 tour players an opportunity to bowl in these LBC championships, they have that special squad. So a lot of squad times are filling up. Don't wait to get in. You can still get in. Check out all the tournament information, pba.com/LBC tournament. And let's get you over to our next set of lanes. Lanes 11 through 14. On 11 and 12, we have Curtis Childs and Sean Timmerman on your scoreboard on lane 11. Adam Knoll and Noah Shatler on your scoreboard on lane 12. They're all in the Open Classic division. Over on 13 and 14, we have Al Robinson in the men's handicap, Robbie Lavala in the boys handicap, Mark Lavala in the men's handicap, and Mikey Lavala in the boys handicap. So it looks like we got 3/4 of the Lavala family on that pair. And once again, if you want to see this PBA LBC National Championships pattern, it's posted on the PBA LBC website. So that same web address I gave you, pba.com/LBC tournament, you can scroll down a little bit, has all the oil pattern information for you. 42-foot pattern with 31.25 milliliters of oil in the pattern. For those of you that are very technical, there's 17 mils in the forward application, 14 in the reverse. And with the overall ratio on this pattern being at 4.35 to 1 for the outside to the middle on the left side, 4.66 on the right, so a little asymmetrical, not much with the asymmetry, but you want to make sure the track area on the right side holds up. A lot more lane play on the right side than the left, so that's why you see the slight asymmetry in the pattern. Definitely a little tougher pattern than what bowlers would see in their league sessions, but also not as tough as what players would see out on the PBA Tour. Let's get you over to lanes 15 through 18. On 15 and 16, Leah Basevic is bowling in the girls handicap division on 15. Michael Young in the Open Classic. Chris Sheff in the men's handicap, and William Harris in the senior classic over on 17 and 18. Chris Hill, PBA regional player, bowling in the Open Classic division. Matthew Sipes bowling in the men's handicap. Andrew Lewis and Jordan Thompson both bowling in the Open Classic division as well. Hey, Rail Stalker, you're taking my job in the chat. There's a few strikes out here, no doubt about it. Let's go over to lanes 19 through 22. We've got Edward Fitzgerald and Jeremy French in the men's handicap, 19 and 20. Jennifer Fitzgerald and Mary Fitzgerald in the women's handicap division. On 21 and 22, Jason Burzek, Josh Hoppy, Brian Conkle, and Mike DeFord. All players but Burzek in the Open Classic division, Burzek in the men's handicap division. No need to apologize, Rail Stalker. I was just having a little fun with you. It's the first squad of the tournament. So you'll see that we cover this a little bit differently than a PBA Tour event. We're allowed to be a little more lighthearted, have a little fun, talk back and forth with the chat. I mean, I try to answer whatever questions I can when people drop them in there. If I have an answer, I'll give them out. But, yeah, this is just it's a fun experience for these players because they get treated like PBA Tour pros when they walk in the door. They have to check in their equipment. They have to make sure they put their bowling balls in use. They put the serial numbers on the recap. The dress code's a little relaxed, obviously. They can pretty much wear hats, shorts that you would normally see at a PBA tournament, jeans. And if they want to enjoy, if they're of age, an adult beverage or two while they bowl, they're able to do that as well. I refuse to say hello to Hirsch Bowling because he should be checking people in and verifying averages in the tournament office. If that's actually Brian Hirsch. If it's Mrs. Hirsch or young Hirsch, hey, good morning to you. Thanks. You know what? And don't forget our opening ceremonies this afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:30 here in Mount Prospect. And it's going to be a fun opening ceremonies. Not going to spoil with any details. We will have Tom Clark here. We will have Norm Duke here. But there's going to be some fun during the opening ceremonies this year. Something a little different than the last couple. So Pfeff, the white cord was still there. It probably was in its proper place, but not using that in-house internet, so a little different setup this year, so we don't interfere with things inside of Bolero Mound Prospect. But thanks for checking in on that, and I'm going to try to avoid any flu bugs such as hit you when you were in here back in February. And hey, Bowling with the Pfeff in the chat. If you guys haven't checked out Bowling with the Pfeff on YouTube, I don't usually cross-promote at a PBA event, but he did have a quality PBA player that he interviewed this past week, and that would be Jason Belmonte. So if you want to see some questions that are asked that may not usually be asked of Jason during PBA interviews and such, you can check out after the squad, of course. Don't do it now. But check out Bowling with the Pfeff on YouTube and check out some of the PBA professionals he's talked to over time. So he's got quite a few PBA players, PWA players. He interviews once a week or so. And always appreciate those who provide some bonus coverage of the PBA through social media. Let's get over to lanes 23 through 26. On 23 and 4, it's Jade Mazinas and Tony Mazinas. Jade in the girls' handicap, Tony in the men's handicap. Then David Pivas and Jessica Pivas. David in the men's handicap, Jessica in the girls' handicap. On 25 and 6, James Jennings is in the Open Classic division. Richard Burnett in the men's handicap. Austin Grammer in the Open Classic. And John Bose in the men's handicap. I'm sorry, Bose is on 27-8. There's only 3 players on 25 and 6. So Bose will lead off with him when we go over to 27 through 30 momentarily. Hey, good morning, Adam. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit once Norm gets here. We'll talk about the new PBA contracts with the CW and with CBS Sports / CBS Sports Network, both entities in play for CBS. And Tanya, it's any average bowler can bowl the PBA LBC National Championships with the added handicap in those respective divisions for men's, women's, boys, and girls. There was a young man last year who on one of the last weekends of the tournament, he had just started bowling that year, had a 75 average. That's right, 2 digits, 7.5. And because of this format, and you'll see it coming up when we get over to Kyle Troop, you can be paired up with a PBA Elite Pro by luck of the draw. If there's one on your squad, it might happen. And for this young man, it did. He was paired up with Stu Williams. So here's a PBA Elite Pro, one of the best in the world, with Stu, bowling with a 75 average player. And Stu had a blast with it. So, like I said, it's a little lighter hearted, even for the elite players. They can be a little more relaxed during competition. Heck, if they wanted to have a beer, they could during competition, because this isn't an official PBA Tour event. It's the PBA LBC National Championships. Drinking's allowed, and that stretches out to the PBA players as well. And this young man took home some scholarship money after bowling with Stu Williams at a 75 average. So yeah, it's open to anybody. As long as you have an average for at least 12 games, you can bowl the PBA LBC National Championships. And here we go over to 27 through 30. So we mentioned John Bose already. Bose in the men's handicap. Joseph Lloyd Jr. in the senior classic. Jeremy Saccone in the Open Classic. Taylor Graham in the Women's Classic on 27-28. Then on 29-30. Got Caleb Brown. There you see him in the yellow and green jersey. In the boys handicap, Brianna Stewart in the Women's Classic. And if you recognize the name Brianna Stewart, you know she's the fiancée of Kyle Troop. So you'll see Kyle stepping up momentarily in 29-30. And the lucky person to get paired up with that threesome, Kenneth Grunwald. Grunwald in the men's handicap. So it's even better in a Pro-Am because you get 6 games with that player instead of 3. And so the lane movement here, Kyle Troops and his group, they're going to skip a pair of land on the second. So since 33 and 34 isn't in play this round, they're going to move all the way down to 3 and 4. So if you want to follow Kyle through all the pair feeds, we'll give you the updates on how many pairs everybody moves after each game. So they're going to skip a pair of land on the second. So Kyle and group will go to 3 and 4 after this game. Troop looking for a possible 279. And gets the 9 to go. So we'll come back for his 10th frame. We'll get some players introduced here. We want to make sure we get everybody on camera. And unfortunately, they're done with their game on 31 and 32. We'll peek in on them during game 2 a little bit with Connor Chen, Derek Graham, Lewis Drisdell, and Tyrus Drisdell. But we'll get back here to Troop and family plus Grunwald. As Caleb, this is the head pin a little to the left. You can just tell a little frustrated at the moment. Might not be used to bowling on these. Little bit of a tougher pattern. It's not a huge tough pattern. As we said, it's about a 4.5 to 1 ratio. A little less on the left side. And now the open frame for Caleb. So he's got time to work back, though. It's a 6-game block. Even though Caleb's in the boys' handicap division, you don't use all those pins early in the event. Now, once again, Kyle Troop in his own division. All the PBA elite players are in their own division. But one of the neat parts about this event is even if you're bowling later on in the event, unless you signed up online to bowl the doubles with Kyle Troop, you can bowl doubles with anyone in the event as long as that first person bowling pays for the entry. Oh, and a wrap 10 at a wrong time for Kyle. And you use games 1, 2, and 3 of your block to get your doubles score. And if you want to make it your own 4-player team, so let's say later on you're bowling next week, and some of the PBA elite players like Nate Purchase, you want Nate Purchase, EJ Tackett, and AJ Chapman on your team. As long as you pay for the entry, I mean, it's like fantasy bowling, Tom Clark calls it. You can pair up with 3 PBA Tour pros, and their scores count using games 4, 5, and 6 for the 4-player team event. So we've got lots of players that come in and put those doubles teams together, put those 4-player teams together, and they're not bowling on the same day. Actually, in the inaugural year in 2023, our 4-player team champions, the 4 players bowled over 3 different weekends at 4 different times. And they ended up winning that event. So we have player movement. As we said, Kyle Troop and Company is going to be moving down to 3 and 4. We'll pop in on 3 and 4. We'll also have a chance then to see the bowlers that we missed in game 1 on 5 and 6. We're going to give you a little audio intermission here from Bolero Mount Prospect in Mount Prospect, Illinois. And this is the opening squad of the 2025 PBA LBC National Championships, your second game of 6 games of competition. Coming up next. Thanks for joining us this morning. All right, we'll check our lane movement. They're still on the same feed. I know I said 3 and 4 originally. Is where Kyle and group we're moving to. They're actually in 5 and 6, so I'll get my lane chart double checked. But you're still getting to see Kyle throwing his first shot of Game 2. There you see that ball coming up on that 42-foot pattern, and the big strike for the man originally from North Carolina, now from the Louisville area in Kentucky. And you'd have to easily say one of the top 5 fan favorites on tour right now for Kyle. And, of course, Hall of Fame eligible, hopefully someday. I know they're not going to wait that long. Obviously, Kyle has to be a member for 20 years before he could go into the Hall of Fame. So I think he's got about 8 more for that. You have to have your 20 years in. But with some of the players that have been voted in for the veterans category, such as Steve Jaros, there's a couple of players I'd like to really see get in there. One of those being, obviously, Kyle's father, Guppy, falls a little short with only 8 titles. And another player, I mean, other than when the guy got the TV, Brianna gets hosed on that shot. I mean, he made so many TV shows. Yeah, he had problems getting all the way to the victory circle on TV on occasion. So many majors that he made, too. Ryan Schaefer. Some people, might not like the I'll tell you how I feel personality. I've always respected that out of Ryan. And that's another player I really hope that the Veterans Committee is able to give some votes to, and hopefully someday induct into that veterans category for the PBA Hall of Fame. I see a question in the chat. When does the regular PBA season start again? Well, actually, next weekend there's a special event with the PBA Tour Finals. That's coming to you from Steel City Brew and Bowl, in Pennsylvania. That's where the top 8 points finishers from the last 2 seasons will take to the lanes in that special 2-day event. Your first show is next Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, for your Group 1 positioning round. And a show for Group 2 immediately following. And then your final roll-offs will be on Sunday. Of course, all action next weekend on CBS Sports Network. Once again, we're going to wait until Norm Duke gets here to talk about the new CBS Sports deal for the PBA World Series of Bowling and the Tour Finals, which will now be renamed the Commissioner's Cup in 2026. And after that Tour Finals, there's only 2 other events remaining on the 2025 season. One is towards the end of July with the PWBA striking against breast cancer mixed doubles, affectionately known as the Lucy, in memory of Lucy Bano, who passed away from that disease many years ago, but still that tournament held in her memory. As Troop starts with an opening double. And then we cross the pond over to Olympia Bowling in Helsingborg, Sweden, for the Storm Lucky Larson Masters. Caleb having some problems right now. A little unusual seeing the one out. And he'll talk things over with Mom. He'll talk things over with Kyle. And after Kyle throws in this shot, we'll get you introduced to the players that you didn't see in game one. And as for the 2026 schedule, it's going to be a while. Got to get centers locked in on contracts. We got to get TV logistics handled. So that's, it'll be a little bit before the 2026 schedule and what dates events will be happening. One would think that the CW schedule will happen before the CBS Sports and CBS Sports Network schedule occurs with the World Series of Bowling. And of course, I don't foresee the tour finals now going to be called the Commissioner's Cup. Getting away from that June finals, and I'm sure Lee and Chris DeSant from Steel City Bowling Brews is going to do whatever they can to get that event back in their bowling center in 2026. And that PBA Tour Finals, soon to be known as the Commissioner's Cup, always exciting to watch with those 8 players off that 2-year rolling points list. As that event started in 2017, there's only been 4 winners. Kyle Troop being one of those 4 winners, and everybody that's won it has won it twice. Troop's won it twice, Simonson's won twice, Belmonte's won twice, Tackett's won twice. So pretty interesting that with the number of players that have gone through the Tour Finals, soon to be Commissioner's Cup, that we've only had 4 champions, and they've all won twice. So big crowd starting to gather behind Kyle Troop. Some of the players that might be bowling on the 2 p.m. squad, some of the fans here from Mount Prospect, they haven't had a chance to see Kyle in the Chicagoland area since February when there was an event at the Bolero in Vernon Hills, about a half hour northeast of here in Mount Prospect. So after Caleb throws, we'll get you introduced to our players that are on 5 and 6. And while Caleb just having issues with trying to get that right direction on the bowling ball. So these are the players that started on 31 and 32 with Connor Chen, Derek Graham, Lucas Drisdell, and Tyrus Drisdell on 7 and 8. The players you saw earlier on 3 and 4, those are the players that are now on 9 and 10. With Switalski, Schaub, Englert, and Benka. Let's get back to Troop. Start out with a big game, game 1 in the 250s. And trying to exceed that this game, double spare strike through 4. You know, Derek, PBA is my favorite sport. Baseball definitely a close second, but You know, the one thing with the PBA, being able to relate to bowlers, not just as a fan, but as a bowler myself, is knowing how tough it is for these guys out on tour to really, know that, they're bowling on the toughest conditions, that they're bowling against the best in the world. And we can relate to that because we do it ourselves. Sure, we do it a lot of times on easier conditions, but we can still throw a strike, and that's one of the beauties about the PBA LBC National Championships Clash. It doesn't matter when you get there. If you're the 12-year-old, like we saw with Garrett last year in the boys handicap division, who had just been bowling for 10 months but made his way to Portland with a great score in the boys handicap division. Or if you're Graham Fa, who was on a hot streak and the year before in that building during PBA Elite League competition threw nothing but strikes. That Clash format, one ball. I can go against Jason Belmonte, EJ Tackett. I haven't thrown a bowling ball in 5 years, since well before the pandemic due to various factors, AKA life. But if I get out there and grab the ball, I'd have a chance for one shot against an EJ Tackett, against a Jason Belmonte. Now, can I do that 12 or 13 times, like in the Clash, and make it all the way through for $60,000? Odds are probably not, but I have that chance to make it happen. And that's the fun part about that Clash. Can't wait for it to come back. I saw a question earlier in the chat about if dates, times, and places were set for that LBC Clash. No, they have not yet. With all the broadcast possibilities being up in the air, don't know when the Clash is going to be. There will be a Clash, that's no doubt. It's just if that Clash is going to be on broadcast television, on cable television, if it's a possible live streamed event instead this year. But there'll definitely be some bonus prize money added by the PBA. I mean, last year, that $100,000 on the Clash, that was all PBA added money. That didn't come out of the tournament entry fees, anything like that, for the Clash money, that $100,000. And then on top of it, the PBA added $31,000 to the prize fund throughout all the divisions for just this tournament outside of the Clash. So how many bowling tournaments out there at any level, local, state, national, add 5 figures to the prize fund, let alone $31,000 to the prize fund that anybody would have a shot at getting their piece of? There's only one I know of, that's right here at the PBA LBC National Championships. We'll get back over to Kyle Troop and company. There you see Brianna Stewart looking to convert that single pin. Brianna having some struggles early this game. 2 opens, no strikes through 5 frames. Caleb, unfortunately, continues to struggle. Average league hack at the level a lot of us play the game at, which is true. We go to our leagues, we play a game. It's a game. When it gets to the level of college bowling, high school, even some high school bowling, definitely college bowling, definitely international competition in the PBA, yeah, it's a sport at that level. You know, I can go play rec league softball with my friends and have a good time. It's a game. I can go play some 6-player sand volleyball with my friends. It's a fun time. It's a game. But once you get to these elite levels, that's when it bypasses going from being a game to a sport. And I'll tell you what, I bet you Kyle Troop probably hit the weight room this morning. Maybe even took a little bit of a run. You rarely see at the top levels of this sport of bowling anymore athletes that are not physically fit and mentally fit. I've walked through some PBA paddocks and the players are changing their shirts after a round of competition, whether they're just going right out or whether they want to enjoy a beverage with a fan or two in the bar. And tell you what, there's some not bad looking bodies in that paddock in a lot of cases. I mean, look at about a decade ago, Kelly Kulick was featured in Sports Illustrated when they had their annual, I guess you can call it nudes issue, the body issue they called it, where athletes are photographed nude. Yeah, Kelly Kulick, you look at her when she's bowling and that kind of thing, and a looser fitting shirt and shorts or a skirt, and you go, okay, and then you see that and you go, yeah, that's an athletic body. Not everybody fits that type, obviously. There's still some players that do well, like Stu Williams. As Stu likes to say, round is a shape. I'm in shape, round is a shape, but when Stu can get through 100 games at a World Series of bowling like he did in Reno a few years back, made the finals when they had 4 animal patterns, along with the World Championship along that. I mean, for mere mortals like us, we would have been maybe not crippled at the end of the 2 weeks of competition, but you'd definitely be feeling the burn, feeling the pain. And Stu just took it like it was any other day at the office. It's amazing to watch. So everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I'm giving you mine. At the level of college bowling, PBA bowling, PWBA bowling, it's a sport. It's not just a game like many of us play. All right, we are going to break away from Kyle Troop coverage here as we have a front 8. Austin Grammer with that very short approach. 4 steps to the line. Looking for the front 9. Is he going to roll the 2-pin? No, he doesn't, but a solid. I'm sorry, that's not Grammer. Grammer's stepping up on the left lane. I apologize. Two-hander looking for the front 9. And he gets it. So our first chance at a mini Duke down on 31 and 32. So we'll stay here as Kyle's just shot a spare in the 8th frame. So we'll catch Kyle's 10th frame when he gets back up there. But I'd love to see somebody win a mini Duke. First day of the event. That would be awesome to see.
Walking away, he's the tournament director. He'll give you the right answer.
So here we go, Austin Grammer, first chance for 300. And he gets the first one in the 10th. We are here at Bolero Mount Prospect, opening squad of the 2025 PBA LBC National Championships, and we're getting some fireworks early here in Game 2 as Austin Grammer looking to knock down all 10 pins for the 11th consecutive time to start Game 2. He's in the pursuit of the Mini Duke, and he's actually in the pursuit of the Mini Duke with Norm Duke in the building. We might see Norm run out in the approach and hug him if he can get that 12th shot. He's got 11. What an awesome chance. One of the best awards in the sport of bowling. You may have rings, you may have pendants, you may have tiaras in the case of the ladies. But anybody that can shoot 300 here at the PBA LBC National Championships can win and will win a Mini Duke. Will we have our first one of 2025? Oh no, and the wrap 10 ends the bid of perfection for Austin Grammer. Oh, what a game though, a good start for Grammer here. Let's get back down. Kyle Troop trying to finish with a 247. He's got the first shot in the 10th already. Kyle going in the bag, going to get himself another ball to try to stay ahead of the transition. So we'll have player movement. Coming up here. So they should be moving to 11 and 12, the group here with Kyle Troop, as he finishes with 244. We're going to take a little audio intermission as players move pairs. And game 3 of this 6-game block, and our opening squad of the 2025 PBA LBC National Championships rolls on. I'm $2 Phil Brylo, taking you through all 7 weekends of this PBA LBC National Championships, and we'll have main feeds with special guests on occasion throughout all 7 weekends. Like we'll have Norm Duke coming in shortly. Some weekends we'll just have all the pair-by-pair feeds, but no matter what, you're going to be able to watch any friends and family you have bowling. You'll be able to watch every frame, every game, every pair, every squad on the PBA YouTube channel. All right, so we'll bounce back and forth here between Austin Grammer. Austin with 5:32 for his first two, and Austin's on fire. He's got a double starting this game. He's in the Open Classic division. Kyle Troop is in the PBA Elite division. Started with a spare. Kyle's at 5:02 for his first two, and now gets a strike. Last year, boy, in the PBA Elite division, Graham Fa. All right, who's going to fire first, Grammer or Troop? Grammer or Troop? They're literally going to go at the same time because they're two pairs away from each other. Actually, Kyle's going to let Grammer go first. So there's Grammer. $2.99 last game. That ball burned up a little energy in the front there. You can see with throwing urethane. And with the early roll of urethane, sometimes you find some early friction. And Kyle lucky to roll the 2-8 out of that, leaving just the 10, so he looks a little puzzled. And once again, like a PBA event, I mean, PBA players don't just simply move a pair here, a pair there in an event during a round of competition. Unless it's a really small center. If it's a 16-lane center, there's 8 pairs and 8 games of competition. You know, then sometimes they'll cross the house twice. As Kyle gets the spare, no problem. Grammer picked up his spare as well. But these bowlers here get to experience the same thing PBA Tour players do. They're crossing the entire house during their competition. They'll end up on a pair, game 6, that was near their original starting pair. Everybody gets to take the big walk down the concourse from the high end to the low end. Boy, I promise you, Norm's here. It's just that with so many fans in the building that are here to see him, it's taken him a little while to get down to the booth. We've got a lot of people that came in the building today to watch Kyle bowl, and then you pile on. You know, you've got future Hall of Famer and real Hall of Famer. with Kyle and Norm respectively. And Brianna Clemmer not having a good game, as she has thrown a 6 count on every shot for her first 4 shots. It's one of those things where you walk up to somebody and you go, you know, if you were bowling a 7-pin tap tournament, you'd have the same score. Oh, get a break, come on. She almost got the bounce over. Back to Grammer, looking to start striking again, which Grammer does. Back to Troop. And once again, you can follow anybody. If you want to watch Kyle every shot, we're going to try to get him every shot here, bouncing back and forth between him and Grammer. Or if you want to watch Austin Grammer any shot, anybody in the field, we have every pair in play available to you on those alternate feeds on the PBA YouTube channel. I'd say double tab, keep us on in here, because you know, if you were only watching Kyle last game, you wouldn't have known that Austin Grammer was going to shoot 299. So we give you the hot hands. We update you here in the main feed. Chase after possible leaders. Of course, everybody's a possible leader coming into this squad because it's our first squad of the LBC National Championships. And if you're looking for some great PBA LBC gear, on site is the official merchandiser of the PBA H5G brands. Not only do they have LBC merchandise, but they also have a lot of PBA Tour merchandise as well. You can buy if you're bowling the LBC or if you're in the neighborhood and stop by during tournament squad times. Otherwise, they'll have that merchandise also available at h5gbrands.com. So I've got my polo from H5G Brands on with my PBA LBC logo on. You'll see it pretty soon when I talk to Mr. Duke as he's making his way back over. It's like the Pied Piper. It's like watching everybody follow the man. All right, and joining me in the booth is Norm Duke, and
I can see you, Phil Bryland.
Yeah, we're going to slide you over a little bit because we have that nice logo behind us.
Oh, I see it now.
The PBA LBC bowling certification logo. And Norm, thanks for being here opening weekend again. This is the 3rd year we've had the LBC National Championships.
Yeah.
3rd weekend you've been here on opening weekend. And it's got to be really neat to see every time you walk in the door what everybody's shooting for with that Duke trophy in the tournament office.
Yeah, it's such an honor. I mean, when Tom Clark announced that he's going to have a trophy for this event, you know, it took me back a little bit. And now every year I get to walk in and I get to see the ambiance and all the folks trying for the Duke.
Yeah.
A little while ago on lane 31-2, I'm sure y'all caught that. Austin was going for the mini Duke with the 300. Just pured it off his hand. He left a ring in 10.
Yeah, there's Austin right now coming up on screen, and he gets them all to
There
go
he
back
is.
that time. So he's making a run for an early lead in that Open Classic division.
Yeah, 299 helps quite a bit there, doesn't it, Phil?
And then, once again, the neat part about this tournament is that you can see PBA elite players like Kyle Troop.
Right in front of us. Kyle,
Yeah.
He makes me nervous, you know, because I used to bowl against his dad a lot, and I bowled against Kyle as well.
Right.
But just to see him and how he represents bowling and how he just throws that mean ball, I tell you what, get a little jittery when I'm around him.
Well, let's get over and watch Kyle bowl.
Okay.
So he's over on lanes 7 through 10 here, so we'll get you switched over. And there you'll see Kyle stepping up on the left side of your screen.
Yeah, lane 7 right here. He's wiping that ball off. He's got to get all the oil off of it so it'll bend on the back end and give him all of that hit.
Yeah, can you imagine back in the day when you first started on tour trying to throw a yellow dot or something on 31 mils of oil like they have out here for this pattern? I mean, that's got to be, about 7 times more oil than you guys saw on tour back in the day?
Yeah, about that, or maybe even more. People don't realize that we had about 7 milligrams of oil back in the day, and we oiled them once a day, Phil. So we had 4 rounds of 6 games. Yeah. A squad B, then A squad and B. So we had not only burn, but double, triple burn. One of the things that people don't realize is nowadays on the tour, they run the lanes 2 and 3 times a day, and they put 30 mils out there. So it is such a different environment. And, honestly, people ask me all the time, how would the two-handers do back in the 80s? And they wouldn't. That's just my answer. They wouldn't, because the lanes were so dry that we were throwing blue dots as hard as we could throw it from 5th arrow and still on the nose. Yeah. It's just too difficult to get a ball down the lane back then. But nowadays we have so much oil, these guys can rev it all day long and not have an issue. And if they have an issue, they just throw it over the left gutter. Why not?
Yeah, I just can't imagine a PBA tournament in 1984 where lofting anything past more than about 8 feet was in play. That probably wasn't even thought of back then.
Well, we did play some loft. The problem is if you lofted it too much, you got no hook, because all of that oil goes to the back end, and you're throwing plastic, and you'd loft it over the front, and it'd hit that ice, and it would leave it 5, 8, 10 all day. And so you really had to try to get the ball to hit. That was our biggest thing, is we get at the pocket almost every time sometimes and shoot 160 because we got pocket splits everywhere. 8 10s, 5 10s, all of that.
I remember talking to Marshall Holman a few years back when he helped us out on Extra Frame at the World Series of Bowling, where Marshall goes, the difference between a lot of the guys on tour back then when he was out there and you first started is that we can make the ball do things on a late shift that other players couldn't do, and that's where we got our pins where everybody could score on the fresh. He goes, it was scoring on when the lanes got broken down and everything got pushed to the back. That was the trick. And he goes, guys like me and Mark and Norm, we found ways that we could do that over time.
Boy, did they ever.
Yeah.
Some of my most memorable moments were on the floor where I had Earl Anthony to my left and Mark Roth to my right, and I'm bowling with Marshall. Nice.
Kyle looking for the 5-bagger here. He's at 5-0 after 2. You can see right there, doesn't like it, and you see why.
Well, he dropped it off his thumb a little early, and,
Let's get over to Austin, stepping up on lane 3, looking to keep his hot hand going, as he's looking possibly get 257 on the board here in game 3. Can't get to 800 for his first 3, but wow.
That's a good start, though.
He can put up a big score opening weekend for everybody in that Open Classic division to shoot at. Hi, Mark Blaha. I know you're watching. Last year's Open Classic division winner. And I was kind of hoping that Gianna Brandolino was bowling opening weekend for you, Norm. I know when you saw that young lady last year win the LBC Clash, you got emotional about her win, and what a phenomenal young lady.
We all did. We're watching Chris Prather, and everybody thinks that he has the advantage, and she just railed it. Loved it. And Tom Doherty actually was the very first victor of the Duke.
Yes.
And, most people think, the pros, they're going to have an advantage. Well, of course they do. They bowl for a living. It's all they do.
Yeah.
But then here comes Gianna. I just loved it.
That clash last year where all of a sudden, who would have thought that a 5 count would have tied twice like it did, including with 2 great players with Liz Johnson and Boog Kroll throwing a 5 on the same shot. That still sticks out in my brain.
Yeah, and how often do you roll a 5 count and and get to advance.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, Tom Doherty won the very first one, and he was basically out of the event. And somebody,
Trey Heinrich's
Trey,
player.
that's right. He got up and missed the head pin and left. I believe it was a 5 count.
Yep.
That let Tom back in, and then Tom throws a little 11-bagger at him or something like that to win the very first Duke. Congratulations to Tom.
Yeah, took down Danielle McEwen in that last round. And you talk about the clash from last year. How about Lenny Borst Jr., fighting cancer, comes back for the second year in a row at Bayside and just missed the top 3 again. He was third the first year in 2023, finished fourth in 2024. I think that was one of the best and most undertold stories in bowling last year was what Lenny Borst Jr. was doing while battling cancer, and he's still battling it right now. And we're hoping that I think Lenny said he was hoping to get the PBA 60 World Series at Wayne Webb's place this year, hoping to get down there. So we all hope he does too. Lenny, we hope you're doing well.
Hello, Lenny. And one of all of our favorite bowlers of all time is Lenny Borst, and I got to bowl so many years on the PBA 50 with him, also the regular tour. But I tell you what a gentleman, and we hope that he wins this battle. And he told us last year, he said, look, I could be home, I could be struggling at home, or I can be out here and struggling out here. And by golly, if that doesn't lift you up, nothing will.
So we're going to wait for Austin Grammer to get up in his 10th frame. He has a chance to put 257 on the board. He struck in the 9th after a spare conversion, down on 3 and 4, and it's these kids are fun to watch. I'm sure you're glad you're not out on. Well, I mean, you had it done for the two-handers the few years you finished off on the regular tour through 2022, and I'm sure you're happy to watch them instead of deal against bowling with them.
Yeah, my last 2 victories were Jason Belmonte and Anthony Simonson. So I got plenty of the two-handed looks. My last shot on television was watching, after my last shot was watching Anthony Simonson strike in the 10th to win a major. And those are the things that I will never forget because they're just epic moments. It's a moment in time for Anthony that day and certainly for me. Yep. Here's Kyle Troop. And that is why he is Kyle Troop. By the way, I used to bowl against his dad. In fact, his dad beat me in the Touring Players Championship final match in 1984. I only bowled 190 and lost by 2 or 3 pins against him. But I tell you what, it was a major. They were tough. Guppy won that event, and then not even born yet, I don't believe.
Yeah.
Here is Kyle Troop.
And now probably somebody else who wasn't born back then. Austin Grammer, who knows if he was even born when there was a 19 in the front of the years.
Yeah, Anthony Simonson's an old man in comparison to this guy.
Right. But Grammer gets the first one in the 10th, and he's sticking with the urethane, and that's something that these two-handers can do. As Kyle can't get the messenger on the 10 you saw in the corner of your picture.
Nice shot right there on lane 8 by Kyle.
Yeah, the two-handers can do things with urethane that a lot of lower rev one-handed players can't do, and keep the ball on target line, still have some effect to hit. You watch every one of Austin's shots that's been flush in the pocket, and you just go, how did that 10-pin stand on the 299?
Oh, that was such a great shot. I was right behind him watching it. I was about to tell him congratulations on your mini Duke, and no.
Oh, that was a 7-10 for Kyle even.
Yeah, it was. It was a bird dog, missed the 10, but we didn't see it on the camera here. But
244 for Kyle to finish off
still
that game.
Still a good game.
And if you have questions for Norm, drop them in the chat. I'm sure there's a few here already. So the pattern they're bowling on, somebody's asking, it's the LBC pattern. It's a pattern designed for this tournament. It's 42 feet in length. It's got 31.25 milliliters of oil in it. And it's about a 4.5 to 1 ratio. It's a little asymmetrical. It's a little less than 4.5 to 1 on the left side, a little more on the right. And that's just to make up the wear and tear on the track, because even synthetic lanes have tracks.
Oh, certainly.
Worn into them after a bunch of years. So they're making sure that that stays into play.
Yeah, when you have 6 games, especially with today's bowling equipment, if you've got more track down the lane, on the right side of the lane, you do the left, they're going to be different. I mean, sometimes they're easy and they get harder. Sometimes they're hard and they get easier. But either way, if you don't have that asymmetrics in play, you're going to have either the lefties or the righties dominate every time. And that's not what we want. We want a fair playing field. Yep. That's what we're getting. They do such a great job here. Bolero does PBA. It's amazing to come in and watch.
How about a two-handed lady here?
Yeah, just throwing it high flush. She didn't look like she's real happy about that one. No. I'm going to have to go down there and tell her.
Oh, she's only sitting at 239 after her first two, so it looks like she struggled a little bit checking the score in the upper right-hand corner, but she's definitely she might match that this game. So young lady, looks like, I'm guessing with the WV on the back, it's out of West Virginia.
That looks like.
And I don't know if we have an average for her on the sheet.
She'll pull that one a little bit.
Yeah, don't have an average for her on the sheet. But still, a good comeback after a rough start, a little bit of a rough start. Norm, here's one in the chat from Kristen.
Hello, Kristen.
We'll never forget Norm throwing the last shot in the PBA League Elias Cup Finals at Bayside Bowl in 2022. It was such a treat to see that in person. There wasn't a dry eye in the house, and I was there as well. And I was there that whole week because they had the qualifying rounds for the PBA League before the Fox Sports shows that year. They had a little different format. It was the first time all the teams had to bowl some Baker games before getting on. And we knew, you had said earlier in the week, that this was it for your competitive days. And did you know that Wes was going to have you throw the last ball just when it came down to a Game 5 and all that was going on?
Well, there's no way you could know.
Yeah, okay.
Because, it might have been that he had to have all three in the 10th. I know that Matt Ogle had left a 7-pin in the 10th frame. If he spares that, he forces a double instead of a mark. And that is, I believe, when either Bill O'Neill or Tommy Jones, I'm guessing it's one of the two, went to Tim Mack and said, by the way, since y'all now have this wrapped up, could we have us a little treat and have Norm throw the last shot? So, that's a memory that will live in my mind forever. It's my doubles partner, Wes Malott.
Yeah.
And he said, Norm, it's on you. So my last ball for score for singles was for a major, but my last shot ever was definitely for the other team.
Yeah, and you struck after leaving a week 10. The shot before that on the lanes, you left a week 10 for the strikers, and then everybody's going like, "What's Norm going to do in this last shot?" And it just cleared all 10 off the deck. It was such a storybook moment, and like Kristen said, there wasn't a dry eye in the house at Bayside that whole time.
Oh, my gosh. And all the thank you, Norm signs and all of that crowd, they knew as well.
Yeah.
It was announced that.
Yeah, you let me break the news, actually.
Yeah.
So that was nice of you to let that happen. And everybody started spreading through the bowling world like wildfire. And everybody's going, no, Norm can't. Everybody's saying, Norm can't retire. It can't be happening. Well, it happened, everybody. Have you seen Norm throw a ball in competition in almost 3 years? No, you have not. Because somebody is asking about how the golf game's going.
Oh, I tell you what, the golf game is awful.
Oh, no.
It's awful. I get to play anytime I want, and I take my wife out mostly. But, for some reason, I just haven't gotten it. I'll go out and I'll hit balls, and I'll get lined up, and then I'll just start striping that sucker. But as soon as you put that ball in front of me and you put it for score, I have not been able to translate my work on the driving range to my score on the golf course yet, but it's coming.
It's amazing how that happens, where all of a sudden everything's just perfect on the driving range, and all of a sudden you go on the first tee and you're in the woods.
Yeah, the same thing with bowling. We have to learn as pros how to take all of our work that we put in and then put it in play. And sometimes you're working on something that's not ready yet, Phil, and you just got to bail on that until it is ready. Well, we know so much about that in bowling because that's what we do, and we do it for a living. But in golf, I don't know if something's ready or not. I mean, heck, I'm a 9 handicap. I'm supposed to tell you when I'm ready to put it in play? No.
Wow, a 9. That's phenomenal.
Yeah,
anybody
it's creeping up though. It's not going down.
Yeah, anybody that's a 10 or better, I tip my cap to, because I tried for years, and I can't get below a 20. So I obviously, like anything else, you need more practice and more time, and proper fit on clubs, just like you have proper fit on a bowling ball. Same thing. Found out from my club pro 3 years ago that I didn't have the right lay on my clubs, and he changed a little bit of angle. All of a sudden, wow, I'm striping it 15 yards farther without even doing anything.
What did he do? Did he give you a left-handed set?
No. I'm actually a righty when I golf. I bowl left-handed, but I'm a righty when I golf. I'm the opposite of A.J. Johnson.
Well, there's your problem.
So
see, they're walled up on the left, and you don't even know it.
Yeah. So we're going to stick with Austin Graham. We're going to stick with Kyle Troop as well, as Kyle Troop's pair hasn't gotten underway yet.
And by the way,
back and forth.
this Kyle Troop has got the outfits, man. I tell you what, when you look at this specimen, he's in great shape.
Yeah.
He works out all the time, and then he puts yellow and lime green and all of the guppy, half this, half that. I love that kid.
I love it today because, that's exactly the one that Kyle has on today is a dedication to his dad Guppy with the half and half.
Half and half.
Guppy just had the slacks, so now with these great jerseys, especially from companies like H5G Brands who's here on site, they can do anything.
They can do it all,
the slacks and everything. I thought the best part during the battle of the brands and stuff was watching Kyle come up and he had dude wipes on his butt on each cheek. That was clever marketing on Kyle. I don't know if I'm sure Kyle probably came up with that himself, or maybe Brandon came up with that. But how much better marketing can you get for dude wipes? Yeah, without actually getting.
It's just wipe here.
Yeah.
Swipe right.
Swipe right.
We didn't say that.
Somebody asked, are you still involved with Next Level Bowling?
Yes, I am. Lori Romano is my president. I gave her that moniker about 6 years ago. And, when COVID came, Phil, we had issues there. We were very scared about killing people.
Yeah.
And we didn't know anything about it. So we just absolutely stopped everything. And about 2.5, 3 years worth, we just said not until we know that we can pursue this without having any, we don't want to hurt anybody. But now we're back. We are doing, we do all kinds of events. Most people think we only do the coaching. I do birthday parties. Later on in the year, I'm going to Reno, where a group is renting out the National Bowling Stadium for the whole day. And when they called, they spoke to me personally, and they said, well, Norm, none of us bowl. And my first thing is, well, they don't have rental shoes in the National Bowling Stadium. If nobody bowls and y'all are renting this whole place out,
right,
that could get problematic. So let the folks know to try to find some shoes. But things like that are more what I do now. Now that we have a lot of the two-handers, and 40-50% of all of our students are two-handers, we like to put two-handers on the floor teaching them.
Yeah.
And you know what? I am so happy about that. So I'm mostly doing events that I'll host special events, some birthday parties, of course, events like this one. But yes, Next Level Bowling is how you get to me. And Lori Romano is who you'll speak to.
All right. Let's see. Everyday Bowler says he was the night manager at Pike Lanes in North Little Rock years ago when you were there.
Yeah.
And he said, nicest guy that could ever hit a dime on the lanes. That's got to be nice hearing stuff like that from people where just the interactions with you where they remember them forever. I mean, there's some players that you can pass in the night and that type of thing and not remember them, but so many people just like, when I was talking to people at home this week going like, I get lucky enough to have Norm in the booth with me a couple of squads this weekend. Norm's the nicest guy. They bring back the old Miller High Life Open in Milwaukee and that kind of thing. And I had met him there, and I met him at the Masters in the 2000s, and just all the you just watch the smiles light up on people's faces. It's so cool that people still remember all those interactions 30, 40 years ago with you, and it still makes them smile. It's so cool.
Well, Phil, one of the things that I did that I'm so proud of is during Pro-Ams, I made it a point to try and remember every single person's name that I bowled with. I tried to get eye contact with them and let them know that I'm not above them in any way.
Yeah.
And so 41 years later, I am enjoying those times with those folks where they remember me as a real person, not as somebody that they look up to, but somebody that they look at.
Yeah. Let's see, a couple of other questions in the chat here. A couple asking about streaming. Yeah, we'll stream every squad. Not every squad's going to have a main booth like this with a guest from the PBA in it, like Norm. Or player. Last year we had Stu Williams in for his squad. We had a couple other players in, AJ Chapman. But if we don't have a main feed, all the pair feeds will be streaming. Every game, every frame, every squad, every bowler, you can watch them all the way through this event. It's nice having that transparency. It's a national event where you know what you're getting into before you can watch other players with similar styles. If you're a two-hander like Austin, you can watch where he's playing the lane, or like Kyle. If you're a one-hander like some of the other players that we see out here, like Chris Hill, you can watch how Chris is playing the lanes. He's got more of a conventional game. So being able to see what's going on, it's so great as compared to a lot of other events that are out there that we're able to do that. And I want to thank the PBA for bringing me in the third year in a row for being able to live stream this event. So it keeps me busy during the summer when it's normally a slow time of year. It's a beautiful thing. Norm, what do you consider your greatest win in your bowling career? Not 40 wins on the tour. That's a tough question.
Yeah, I don't think that there could be one. You know, if I had to pick one, it was when I spared the bucket to win the U.S. Open. Why was that so memorable? Because it was to accomplish the Grand Slam and the Triple Crown and the U.S. Open, which was just the hardest tournament on earth to win. And so that sticks out in my mind. But there are so many others. You know, that one event in Wichita, Kansas, it was the PBA National. Well, that was for my third major in a row. How can you not remember the day that you win the third major in a row? It's never been done before or since. So, yeah, that was way, way up there. And then you remember the people that you played against. Like Mika was the U.S. Open. Chris Barnes was that national championship. And I look back and I say, my gosh, I'm not even supposed to be on the floor with these people. And they're the ones that I get to remember being victorious against.
Before Kyle throws, let's peek in on Austin. And Austin, single pin miss. Yikes. He's coming off of in the fourth frame. So no doubles yet. And
well, I can tell this. I can tell this.
Okay.
When you come off of, for you the guys that are scoping the pair, when you're coming off of the very low end, like 3, 4, 5, 6, when you go into the teens, the early teens, just go ahead and move 3 or 4 left out of the gate, because I've seen 2 or 3 people come back and go, wow. Well, their wow is they either missed it, right? They think they're going to come in light or miss the head pin, and sure enough, it gets up, and they go, wow, that ball hooked a lot. And a lot of times, they're leaving the 3-6 right out of the gate.
Yep. One of the tricks that I've learned from players like yourself and others on the PBA Tour is they always expect more wear, more track, or like a different track area on the lanes that opens up quicker on the lanes that are near the control counter.
Oh, of course.
Because they put people on those lanes first and foremost that don't play because they want to keep an eye on it.
I tell you what, that's one of my cheats of all time right there is as soon as you get in front of the desk, that's where the people like to practice. There'll be a lot more friction in front of the desk. Now, if the desk is on, like, say, lane 1 and 2, well, then the first third of the house will hook more than the end. So, yeah, keep that in mind, folks.
All right, there you go. Let's see. Who were the bowlers that you looked up to while you were growing up?
Wow, all of them. I was about 5'4". So I looked up to.
Was.
I think Wayne Webb and Chris Warren, the only 2 I didn't look up to, right? But look, when I was growing up, I had favorites. Of course I did. Jim Stefanich was my first idol. And man, oh man, that guy just seemed to have it. Where he was a good-looking man. He was smooth. He was charismatic, but he held his energy until it was time. And then I got to play golf with Jim one time. And, oh, man, he was, God, at the time, probably a +3.
Okay.
He was certainly looking at going to the senior tour at the time on the golf.
Yeah.
But then Pappas and Dickinson, those 3, they stood out more than everyone else to me. And I don't know why. I got to meet them both. Of course, I bowled action against Gary Dickinson for 4 or 5 years before I ever even turned pro. So I knew all about Gary. But then I got to meet George and bowl against George. That is just such an honor because I looked up to them for so many years before I did get to meet them.
Did you ever run into doubles matches where Gary Dickinson was your partner then. I mean, it was
No,
actually
no.
mostly just all singles back. And
No, I was always against Gary.
Always against
because
Gary.
all the
Okay.
money was on Gary, and if you're going to win the money, you got to play against him. See?
Gotcha.
And so I followed the money and said, I don't care who we're bowling. I just want to be. I want to be at where if I can win, I win the money.
Yeah.
And so, man, I'd choose the hard. I'd Ballard at Jupiter Lanes back in the day. Let's say 80, 81. Nobody could beat him. Well, that's why I went and tried to beat him in there because that's where all the money was. Yeah. But no, my doubles, I got to bowl with about 6 or 7 of the ladies because, you know, we would be paired with the ladies to go. And, you know, Liz Johnson and I won the doubles one year. And then Wes and I, oh, my gosh. My greatest memory of anything that wasn't singles was with Wes Malott. We won twice. Had a chance to win a couple more, but we also really fared poorly a couple of times, which puts it all into perspective. And then that last shot where my doubles partner picks me up and gives me that hug at Bayside that day.
Yeah.
Oh, my. I'll never, ever forget that moment.
Who asked who to bowl doubles for the Roth Holman the first year you
Oh, that's such a great question. Well, see, at that particular year, the top 8 got to choose who they bowled with, but they had to choose outside the top 8 because 8 people are choosing.
Yeah.
And Wes was number 2, and he didn't know who to pick. And so he said to Del Ballard, Del, who do you think? And Del, of course, he had bowled against me for many, many years, and he said, I'll tell you what, Norm will give you everything he has. And he said, well, that guy's pretty good. If he's going to give me everything, I choose Norm. And then we ended up winning that event. And so after that, I thought he would choose somebody else because he could bowl with anybody he wanted.
Right.
But he said, no. Oh, no, we're going to continue this. And so we bowled doubles together for about 10 years.
Yeah.
10 of the most wonderful tournaments of my lifetime. For those of you that are Wes Malott fans, welcome to the team.
And I'll tell you what, Del Ballard, everybody kind of thinks he's the gruff ball rep and that kind of thing if you've known him in the last 10 years. He's got a heart of gold on him. And all the problems he's fought through with cancer and other health things and stuff like that. And he can still put a joke out there and put a smile on somebody's face, even though if he's not having the best day. I mean, you can. I learned a lot from Del when he come to the booth and talked to me in the extra frame days about how the little things, the little adjustments in the sport work, because he's so great at that and getting the bowlers that are under his wing to do those things. Del's just one of the underrated guys of just what he's done for the sport. I don't think he's gotten enough recognition for it.
Well, not to mention that he's just a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, we learned so much back in the day when we were teens that we don't forget that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you add 40 years of play on the national tour, you're going to learn every single day you're out there. And so if you add up all the things that Del Ballard has learned, that is infinite knowledge. If you're around him and you have the ability to take advantage of that, do so.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Here we go, Kyle Troop on lane 16. He has the front 4. Of course he does. He's Kyle Troop.
So Austin Grammer made a ball change. Look at Austin next time he comes up because he just left the shaker 8-pin on a light hit. Kyle, meanwhile, front 5. And no doubters on those front 5s. Hey, here's a good question. Somebody just watched E.J. Tackett in Baton Rouge at the USBC Open National Championships and watched him throw 300 during singles, 775 for E.J.'s singles set. How do you assess E.J.'s style, and how is that key to what E.J.'s been able to be successful with on tour over the last decade?
Well, you know, he's the number 1 bowler in the world right now, and for good reason. If you look at his strike percentage, he's actually above Belmonte in strike percentage, which, wow. Yeah. If you'd asked me that 5 or 6 years ago, I'd have said, nah, but, you know, Belmo's going to be the number 1 strike percentage for a while.
Yeah.
And here comes EJ. Bam, 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 bam. And by the way, he's got a great spare game. His mental game is second to none. He has an inner drive and requirement inside that says, I require to win. And I tell you, I love that about EJ is his ability to say, it's not up to you. Yeah. It really isn't up to you. Yeah. It's up to me.
Yep.
And he does, boy, does he ever take this game to another level. And with the thumb in the ball.
Right.
He outhooks these people with 2 hands, And he just says, oh, no, I got a little more left in here. It's beautiful.
And another one of those players that was just, his coach is his dad. He doesn't go to these high-end coaches and stuff like that. He's most comfortable with his dad because his dad's seen him bowl since he was a young tyke, obviously. And he's if something goes wrong with his game and it's not feeling right, hey, Dad, meet me at the lanes. Let's flip on a pair and take a look. And usually it's just, one or two shots and and Ed goes, yeah, this, or yeah, this, and then next thing you know, hey, here's EJ again.
Well, there's not much about bowling that EJ doesn't know.
Yeah.
And if he needs his dad now, it's just because he's looking for confirmation.
Let's see. Even though you mentioned it earlier, some people might be joining us a little bit late. How does it feel when you walk into this event and see that famous pose of yours on that trophy?
Yeah, on the trophy, on T-shirts. Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a new H5G T-shirt I saw. Nice blue color this year on it. And
yeah,
I'll be picking up one of those.
I'm going to give
go.
you the side on that, right?
Okay.
We finished the design 3 days ago. Okay. So Cassie, she's with High Five Gear. They're over here in the booth, and she said, "Oh my gosh, Norm, look what we did." Well, the logo on the back that says PBA LBC National Championship is dated 2024. So they forgot to change the year. Okay, so Cassie tells me today, she said, okay, Norm, what we're doing is we're taking special orders for all 2025s. These are now nostalgic. They're one-offs. And she said, if you'll be happy enough to sign these, then we'll get rid of them as, just nostalgic. They're now, I guess, when you call them misprints or
right,
or what do you call
errors?
Yeah.
They're a year behind. So
right, but that's okay. I love stuff like that.
But they turn into collector's items.
Yeah. And how many years did I get here? And I was a year late. So there you go.
Well, I remember the opening year that we had it, and you were kind enough to sign a T-shirt for a friend of mine, and he's got that thing. He mounted it, framed it. He goes, I want to wear it. He goes, but I can't. He goes, if you wouldn't have had Norm sign it, I'd be wearing that thing all the time. But you had Norm sign it, so he framed it and got it up on the wall, and yeah, it was pretty good.
Well, I hope I'm not too early with this, but Storm and I have agreed to come out with a Norm Duke spare ball.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it is a clear ball with a blue weight block inside, and it has the Duke, the image of the trophy on the inside.
Nice.
It's not my image; it's the trophy image.
Yeah.
And then, of course, a Storm logo and a couple of the spots, but the color of that interior weight block is the color of this year's shirt. So we did that on purpose so that you could match them up. And for those of you that are interested in nostalgia, then we'll be happy to accommodate you.
So that'll be coming out. Storm will have those out soon. I'm sure they'll announce it on their social media.
I don't know when, but it has been approved, at least through me. And I guess what we need now is approval through Storm. And they just need to make them and get them here. I hope tariffs don't hurt us any there. I don't know. I think they make the plastic balls in San Antonio, I believe.
I think so for Storm. Yeah, I think they brought that. They shipped them back, production from overseas a while back.
Yeah, so I don't think we're not going to be exposed to no $500 ball because of tariffs. All right, so
Kyle's run ends a little bit of a weak 2-pin there, a little late in the pocket. He wiggled the 2-pin from behind, but didn't quite get him to fall. What's Storm's opinion about urethane balls out on competition nowadays on tour, since you have the choice of reactive or urethane while they're bowling on these patterns? Towards the end of your career, how often were you throwing urethane, or were you strictly kind of, because of your game, staying in the reactive resin equipment?
Well, we bowled a long time ago when we only had plastic, and then they introduced urethane, and then they introduced reactive resins, and so all of us that have any kind of age behind us, we've enjoyed urethane for many, many years. I did not throw very much urethane in tournament competition at the end of my career. Why? Because I could throw a bigger batter ball as straight.
Yeah.
So most of the people that you see using urethane, their biggest issue is pulling revolutions and pulling power off the ball in order to get it to lay down their max rev. And so they have to go to urethane in order to keep a ball to lay left. I didn't have to do that. I just let go of it. So I didn't need the urethane back then. I mean, excuse me, at the end of our career. But trust me, I've thrown enough games with urethane. I won the Masters in 1993 with Ultimate Weapon. That was all urethane. My first tournament victory ever was a black angle.
Okay.
All urethane. In fact, it was less than a year old.
Fairly new, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Somebody asking where is this? We're in Bolero, Mount Prospect, and Mount Prospect, Illinois. So it's the second year we've had the tournament here. First year we were at Bolero, Wauwatosa, about 90 miles north of here. And I'm sure pretty soon they'll announce where the 2026 edition of this tournament is going to be. I'm kind of partial to this house. It's a nice location. You're close to the airport. It's about a 20-minute taxi or Uber from the airport to get here. Not too far if you fly into O'Hare. If you fly into Midway, it could take you anywhere from 40 minutes to 4 days.
Yeah.
Depending on the traffic and the construction of the Tri-State Tollway.
I know. I flew in last night. I landed about midnight, and it took us 15 minutes door to door.
Not too bad at all.
Nice shot right there.
Let's see. Oh, I've got a hi, Norm, with
Hi.
the H-A-I. Hi. Yes, Norm. So many opportunities you had to bowl in Japan. I've lucky enough a few years back on Extra Frame when we covered the DHC Japan Invitational.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And to see your picture on the wall at Tokyo Port Bowl, one of the most revered bowling centers in the world, I would say, for all the events that have happened there over the years, international events as well as PBA. And
Yeah. 1987, I believe, was my first Japan Cup there at Tokyo Port Bowl. And I believe I got in 31. So 31 times I went over and competed there. We also had the Norm Duke Cup in Taiwan for 3 years.
Oh.
Yeah. So I used to go from Tokyo to Taiwan. And in Taiwan, they had about 4 or 5 different floors of 40 lanes. There were so many lanes in the place that you would finish on one floor. In your next game, you had to walk all your equipment down a floor. And you bowl one game on that floor, you had to walk it all the way down to another. Oh, it was great. Voss and I went there for 2 or 3 years in a row right after, and we enjoyed it so much.
I saw a picture. Brian Voss was at the Under-22 Masters and Queens at Thunderbolt in Detroit this past week.
Yes, he was.
And somebody, I think it was Tom Clark, actually
posted on Facebook.
A picture, posted a picture with Brian. So
Voss got hair everywhere, by the way. I've seen that for Voss is my best friend for many years, and I'm losing my hair, and he seems like he's getting more of it. And my God,
I saw one of the last times I saw Brian was on the PBA 50 tour. We were in Welch, Minnesota, at a PBA 50 stop, and here's Brian walking towards the bowling center from the hotel, flip-flops, shorts, shirt, playing his guitar.
Yeah.
Going to the bowling, so just walking down the street playing his guitar. I wanted to stop, pull over, and listen for a little bit, but I had to get things going.
He got into that. He got into that guitar. I don't know, about probably two decades ago. He plays it every day.
Yeah.
I love my BV. So if you're listening, Beef, howdy doody out there.
Oh. So if you get questions, drop them for Norm in the chat. We're going to take a little audio intermission here between games. I'm going to refresh my beverage. Norm will probably refresh his as well. We give you the opportunity to refresh yours. We will be back. There's still 2 more games remaining on this squad. We'll watch Kyle throw his 10th frame. And then as they move, we'll take a little audio break here. And let's see how many pairs Kyle's moving this game. Because I know there's some people out there, we're covering a lot of Kyle, but we're also bouncing back and forth to a couple other players.
Yeah, and a lot of times we can't, I can't read the names up there. So if I can't read the name on the back of their shirt, I have a little difficulty knowing who they are.
Yeah. And that's
so
one of
bear with us.
Fun things about this event as we watch Kyle's fiancée, Brianna, take a toss and get them all to go. It's one of the fun things about this event. You just see all the different styles and all the different, ways to get to the pocket and all the different ages that are bowling. I mean, Last year we had a 9-year-old that averaged 75 that ended up bowling with Stu Williams on the same pair.
Isn't that awesome? Great.
Stu looked at the kid, and he watched the first 3 practice balls, and they all hooked in the left gutter. And Stu's like, this kid's not going to hit a pin all day.
Oh no!
He said to himself. But the kid, I know the young gentleman. I know his father. He just warmed up with 2 hands and then went back to conventional one-handed bowling for his bowling. And he shot his highest game ever. He shot a 146 the last game of game 6 of the event, and it got him into the cash number for scholarship money, and he took home a $500 scholarship. That's never
Brianna,
good.
That's I see. I recognize that. Yeah, I'm feeling it with you.
Kyle giving her a little.
You know he
business.
is. Look at him. Look at him. He's like, yeah, that's why we're the men. But yeah, she gonna run you over the last 3.
But that's one of the fun parts about this event too. He's bowling with his fiance and his son, and their son, and it's just so cool that you get an opportunity to do that. And there's a 4th player on the pair. He didn't think he was going to be walking in the building this morning.
Oh, by the way, guess who you're bowling with?
So, hey Scott, guess what? You're bowling with Kyle Troop, his fiance, and their son. So have fun with that today.
Yeah, big shot here on the left lane. He needs to finish with 270. I mean,
you see the toe tap.
Oh boy, toe tap means I got that right and I need some help. Pull it back. Well, I'll tell you what, 240 the last game for Kyle. He's on 260 right now, maybe 270 if he can get one more strike. Not bad.
And once again, for those of you watching and not familiar with the format, Kyle's not bowling against anybody else in the building right now. The PBA elite players, those players that finished in the top 55 either in points last year or made it through the tour trials and were exempt on tour this past season, they have their own division for their own prize money. So you don't have to worry about if there's an AJ Chapman on your squad or Stu Williams or an EJ Tackett or a Kyle Troop. They're bowling their own thing. You get to watch them bowl, which is all fun. You get to watch them bowl in a little looser environment than an actual PBA event because Kyle's a little more talkative between shots than we see him at a PBA event. He's been interacting with people in the crowd and that kind of thing. You don't usually see that during actual competition. All the talking's before and after. So
right.
It's kind of a neat thing where you get to see them, you get to watch them, but you don't have to worry about what they're scoring because you have to worry about what you're doing in your own division, whether it's men's handicap, women's handicap, open classic. You get to do what you get to do. So,
however,
yep.
At the very end, to win this event, you're going to have to beat these folks.
Right.
You just don't have to beat them to get to the finale.
Yeah, you want a Duke, you got to get through the PBA exempt players. You got to get through the Women's Classic, Open Classic, but you still get the chance to take
that last weekend is just phenomenal, too, because you've got, a dozen? And everybody throws one ball. You might have to wait 15, 20 minutes in between shots. There's just so much going on, and then so little as well, because when you're in that seat and there's no shots for you to be thrown.
Right.
Everything's happening for everybody else, but not you. You're just sitting.
You can't practice. You can't go anywhere. You're on your own. Just
That's
wait.
One of the things that Lenny was telling me. He said, Norm, the hardest part is sitting there as a senior citizen and having to wait 25 minutes in between shots.
So Austin Grammer's coming to this pair. Kyle Troop's over next door to 19 and 20. We're going to take a little audio intermission, and Norm will be back with me in Game 5 momentarily.
See you later.
All right, so once again, we'll bounce you back and forth between a couple of hot hands. Austin Grammer, boy, a couple single pins might be the difference at the end of this event. Considering he's at almost 1,000 for his first 4. Averaging almost 250, but that's now 2 single pin misses for Austin over the last couple of games. You know, how much could 22 pins get you back on the final standings once it's done? And unfortunately for Grammer right there, he goes a little wide, leaves a 2-8. So he's got that sleeper railroad back there. I'm $2 Phil Brylow. Norm Duke will be back in the booth momentarily. We both just took a little chance to refresh our beverages. If you have questions for Norm, drop them in the chat. Noticing that people saying that the pace is a little bit different. Yeah, there's no double jump rule set here. There's no real Grammer finds another open. There's no real lane courtesy set in stone. We see a lot of players using 2-lane courtesy. A lot of people using the double jump. And joining us back in the booth is one of the greatest of all time, Norm Duke. And Norm, boy, we talked before the break about how Kyle's bowling today and how the exempt pros are in their own division. You look at all these exempt pros that are coming to bowl the LBC National Championships. You got Graham Fa tomorrow. In a couple of weeks, we have Matt Sanders, Justin Knowles, A.J. Chapman, who's had a 300 and has a mini Duke at home with himself. He says it's one of the coolest 300 awards he's ever had. One of the new guns on tour, Zach Wilkins, and, of course, E.J. Tackett. They're bowling June 21st. Wow, 3 of them bowling June 21st at 2 p.m. A.J. Chapman, Zach Wilkins, and E.J. Tackett.
Yeah, look at Lavery Spar and Andrew Anderson and Chris Prather. They come in on June the 28th and 29th.
Yep.
Awesome. Boog Crow, he won right in front of me last year. And Christian Escona, July the 5th. He is down there in Orlando where I am.
Okay.
And then some of my favorite people of all time, Tom Smallwood, Kyle Sherman, and Bill O'Neill. Of course, Bill O'Neill is a Dallas striker, so was Kyle Sherman at one time. God, I love those people.
Now this year was Battle of the Brands.
Yes, sir.
I was kind of hoping Storm would sneak you in for the TV telecast. I know all year they had Tyler Jensen managing the Storm team. I was kind of hoping they'd bring you in for a little extra in the end with all your league experience with the PBA Elite League over the years. Do you miss managing?
Oh my gosh,
the Elite League?
that was absolutely heartbreaking for most of the managers. I mean, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But look, they brought in the Battle of the Brands. Maybe they'll bring us back.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Who knows?
The new contract with the CW could be a really good opportunity for the PBA Elite League to come back.
Right. Well, it's not like I've heard anything or anything. It just that was a wonderful event, and the atmosphere that was created around that league. It was just incredible. And so, if this Battle of the Brands takes off, then we may never see the PBA League anymore, but that's okay. But if it doesn't, I'm going to tell you something. It's hard to duplicate what we had created there in ambiance.
Yep.
It was sweet, wasn't it?
I understand why Battle of the Brands had to happen this year. There were other factors that came into play with TV and such. But that became easily one of my favorite parts of PBA competition. right after it was announced, back in 2015. I mean, it's been 10 years since the first time the PBA visited Bayside Bowl. And go back and remember how everybody in that first match, P. Weber and Parker, they're all freaking out because and not because the crowd was making noise, because they hadn't been under the atmosphere. Everybody's cheering them on all the time and that kind of thing. And here's a single pin miss, and here's a single pin miss, because the nerves were so there.
It was crazy. I looked up, and of course we were coming in next. The Dallas Strikers were on the practice pairs, and I looked over, and you could barely see. And I said, "Tommy," I'm talking to Tommy Jones. I said, "Tommy, what's up with the 9 misses?" There were 5 9 misses in 4 frames. And I said, "What's up with that?" And he goes, "Norm, have you been over there?" And I said, "No." He said, "It's just crazy." So I walked over there and I went, "Oh my God." So I went back to my team and I said, "All right, everybody, I want you to get up at a single pin and just imagine chaos everywhere. And it's going to be more than you even can imagine. But I want you to try to make your spare shot imagining chaos." And I'm trying to prep my team for what is going to be the most nervous we've ever been on a bowl. I mean, I'm telling you, we were shaking everybody. We've got ladies down there dressed up, and they've got all these big pin on their head, the costumes, and they're all in the little Rome dresses, and it was just incredible. That was welcome and hello to Bayside Bowl.
Yeah.
And it got better.
Oh, Kyle Troop running some troubles here. He's in the 4th frame, and he's got 45 in the 4th. He's got 3 opens in his first 4 frames here on 19 and 20.
Okay, well then I'm betting on Brianna.
Oh, Brianna's on a strike, looking to spare here, gets it done. So Brianna just ahead in this game, but still plenty of room for Kyle. He can still get to 225 if he runs the last 8 here.
Yeah, that's not good when you need the last 8 for 220. But this is Kyle Troop. He'll figure it out. Oh, and he got a 7-10. This is 4 out of 5 opens. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, the wheels are falling off.
Yeah, and that's such a great shot. See, what he tried to do there is he went from, like I said, these early teens. That's where you're going to get a little more hook. When he went over to the 20s, now he's getting a little bit more lay down on the back end. So what he tried to do is just soften up and feed it there, but the ball still wouldn't pick up quite enough to run the pins over. And so what I think he's going to do now is maybe a couple to the right and maybe go a little more direct. And, you've got to – there's no roadmap out there, Phil. You've got to figure this out on your own. So if you're watching this, remember what I said. You go to the low end, the first 3 or 4 pairs going to be kind of normal, maybe hittable, and kind of normal. But then as soon as you get into the teens, that's where they're going to hook. And then because they hook there, you're going to move to the right, and you're going to go, well, these are going to hook more. No. Now you got to kind of inch maybe a couple boards further to the right because the early teens are going to hook a little more.
So, there's been a couple of comments in the chat about how they just – the fans, a couple of these fans, they just didn't feel the energy with Battle of the Brands that they felt with PBA Elite League. So, hey, PBA Commissioner Tom Clark's on Facebook. I'm just saying, drop a note on his Facebook page going, bring the Elite League back. Let's get some Dallas Strikers versus some Waco Wonders and some Portland Lumberjacks against. Oh, let's bring back the PBR. Let's bring back the Milwaukee Pounders. I'm just from Milwaukee, so that's why I'm asking for that one.
Well, let's just realize, though, that your email to Tom may not do any good because he designed and built that PBA league, and that hurt him as much as it did us.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a Bolero email you need to send. I don't know.
We'll find out.
We love Liv and all that, but that PBA league was as good as it gets.
Yes, indeed. And I'll tell you what, Kyle Troop just finding a world of problems here now, makes an adjustment in a bucket.
And that's what I'm telling you. He moved from those early teens, and now he's looking at a bucket? Are you kidding me?
Picks it up.
The good news is he didn't lose any count on that first shot.
Yeah. Being on 4 opens out of the last 5 frames. Don't know how much you're bowling anymore, Norm, but somebody in the chat just dropped, do you have a favorite recent Storm bowling ball that you're throwing? I don't know. Do you bowl league?
Folks, I don't even own shoes.
Yep.
I got it in. 41 years on the PBA Tour, I got enough bowling in, and believe me, I'm way up there in total shots down the lane because I was a big practice bowler, right? So I got enough shots down the lane. However, I do know this. Storm is committed to bringing you guys the very best equipment known to man. They will give you all kinds of versatility within their product line. And if you can enjoy that, fine. There are other brands out there, of course, that are going to satisfy your needs. So as long as you keep up with the equipment and you're not bowling with something that's 25 years old, you'll be fine.
So yeah, no matter what of the three big bowling ball companies that there are out there with PBA registered products, with SBI and the brands Brunswick and Motive, those research and development departments are always working on ideas.
Yeah, and
you might not see a lot of them come to market, but the best ones are going to make their way out there.
And sometimes, folks, you may see the same weight block in a ball that's 10 years old and it's brand new now. Well, that's for good reason. They're putting a different shell around it because maybe we have more and more oil that we're adding to lanes over the years, and they say, well, wow, this weight block has been a proven ball. Let's give it a little bigger shell. Let's give it a little more teeth on the outside. And sometimes they say, well, you know what? We need something that'll get down the lane a little more. Well, you can put a bigger weight block in a shell that doesn't hook quite so much. And because of the addition of that oil over the years, now that ball becomes something that is incredible. So, look, these people know what they're doing. All the R&D departments, they are invested in bringing out stuff that gives strikes. They want you to strike.
Well, the best ball that you can have in your arsenal, if you're an up-and-coming bowler, you're working to get better, get that Norm Duke spare ball that Norm said is coming out sometimes because that could be your favorite ball in your bag. Because it's pretty incredible how fast a 120, 130 average bowler's average can go up by making more spares, going to that polyester bowling ball and just taking the lane out of play, taking those conditions out of play.
Right. I mean, if you don't have the ability to throw a straight ball, to throw your strike ball straight, well then invest in a spare ball, of course. We need to make more spares so that those strikes matter. And that's the big thing. I personally didn't use a spare ball. So it's kind of weird we're coming out with a spare ball when I never used one. But I love it, by the way. Just make sure you have something you can knock pins over on the second shot.
And you mentioned you never used a spare ball, but you also had the ability to do all kinds of trickery with your roll and changing it, flattening it out, increasing your axis tilt, decreasing your axis tilt, that kind of thing. I think that's one thing that everybody gets focused on so much with the two-handed players is that all they're throwing. They're making all those little adjustments too. They're not just getting up there and grinding it out. Jason Belmonte doesn't just have an A game and that's it. Jason Belmonte has one of the best touches I've seen in the sport outside of you in a long time because Jason can play those games too with changing the ball roll and tricking things up.
Oh, yeah, and if they leave the 3-9-10, him and Simonson, they're going to throw that backup ball with two hands. They're going to do it and they're going to spare it. And in fact, if you let Simo get a little confused, he's liable to just start backing that sucker up on the first ball, and he's liable to win the tournament doing that. I mean, these guys. One of the things that I was really good at with my spare game is I could get a cut at a 6-10 and take chop out of play. Just completely remove chop out of the equation. So if you can eliminate chop on 4-7s because you got a little bit of right to left on the back, and you can eliminate chop at the 6-10s because you got a little backup ball coming in there. Oh my God! Take chops out of play all year long. You're going to gain 1,000 pins right there. Well, if you don't have that ability, go get yourself a spare ball so that you can throw it right at it and play all your 10 pins the same and all your 7 pins the same instead of having to play the lane at spares. Here we go. Now, we're really rooting on Kyle to get this going back. He needs a six-bagger here to end this. See, he's a little direct now.
Oh, they fall. I wasn't sure. You just see.
Yeah, and he did. He moved a little bit to the right. He went a little more direct, and, he got away with it because pinfall. But I'll tell you what, he still didn't get quite the bite on the bowling ball that he was wanting.
Right. Oh, we got a front bunch alert here. Luke Spitalski, he's stepping up now. Well, we had a front bunch. one of the players that's really come out strong out of the PBA junior program, just converted that 10-pin. He had the front 7. He's got a pretty solid total on the squad after his first 4, 932. And with the struggles of Austin Grammer, we might have a new Open Classic squad leader after this game.
Yeah, it's 132 over with the front 7.
Yeah. And, boy, you talk about a program, there's a couple of them out there at the national level that have really given outlets for these young players to bowl. Obviously, the first one that's been around for the longest is Junior Gold.
Oh, yeah.
And now Storm, and I've seen you at a couple of at the Storm Youth events as well, the Storm Youth Championships events. And PBA Junior is just incredible how that's taken off with the national TV finals and crowning champions. And, you know, that was our first look at Eric Jones.
Oh, yeah.
That we saw. And now Eric's been doing great on the PBA Tour. Dio Bernard is another one.
Dio, I've bowled with Dio in the Legends event.
Yeah. Well, now Dio, last weekend at I live streamed a regional just south of here, and Dio was using all 40 boards of the lane. You mentioned about how these kids can take the chops out of play and stuff like that. Dio wasn't happy with his ball reaction on the left early on a block, so he moved to the right side of the lane until that went away, and then he moved back to the left side of the lane, and he did that one block. He went back and forth a couple times, and then he shot 300 off the left side of the lane late in the block to make the cut.
You know, and that is going to be required, folks.
Yeah.
Listen, the bowlers are better nowadays than when I was on the floor. We were better than the people before us. That is just the natural evolution of sport. You know, you had a 4-minute mile, now that's nothing, right? Same thing with all sports is we pass on the knowledge that we have and our experience to the younger people, and then they take it to a new level, to a new height. And that is what I think that these younger bowlers are going to have to produce, is the ability as two-handers to play both sides of the lane, i.e. when Simo won throwing a backup ball. Learn to do it. If you're getting a little bored and you're out there practicing, hey, it's not waste. If it may look like you're not trying and you're just wasting your money and all that, it's not waste if you're learning. And that is the big thing. And then one day you're going to go, wow, I was just kind of messing around. Now all of a sudden I've got another iron in my bag, right? Got me a little hooded 4-iron.
I mean, that I was lucky enough to be on the call that day when Simonson was in Delaware at the Gene Carter Pro Shop Classic, and went to the backup ball, shot 300 in match play, and then advanced to the stepladder, and then shot the backup and stepladder. And it was more out of necessity, not necessarily because of how he could play the lanes. It's because the ball returns in Delaware are like 7 feet away from the foul line. They just didn't have enough room to get even an abbreviated approach.
Right, exactly.
So he had to go to the other side of the lane to avoid the ball return. And then the funniest part was Graham Faw was my color commentator that day. So here's Graham, who didn't get to the step ladder. Hey, Graham, watch this guy on your side of the lane.
This is how you're supposed to do it. Hey, I'll give you a little conversation. Belmonte, we're on a flight. We're going to Korea. He said, mate, what's your perfect bowler? I said, my perfect bowler is somebody that can throw it like Osku at a spare, which was 90 miles an hour and dead straight, because you can shoot 7-10s and stuff. Yeah. And I said, but I want a two-hander that can go both directions, and of course I want my spare game, but the ability to throw with Osku speed. He said, what do you mean, mate, both directions? And I said, I want a two-handed bowler that can win throwing a backup ball. And he goes, no. Well, then he texted me after Simo. He said, you called this, mate. My turn. And sure enough, now Belmo is investing some time on his practice regimen to learn how to beat people from the left side of the lane. Now, listen, I called that because it was my perfect bowler, not somebody I'd met yet.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I got Simo showing me the way. You go, Simo.
I remember Rhino Page in 2017 won the U.S. Open in Syracuse, and he was starting to run away with it, and the right was getting a little
I was on that show.
Yeah, and the right was getting away from it a little bit, and so Jason tried a couple times in practice to try just to see what he could do to keep up with a backup ball, but he didn't have anything drilled for that backup hook, so it didn't really work that well for him. It was neat to see, but you know, you got to be able to. You can't flip around the bowling ball and get a different weight block. USBC doesn't allow that. You have to have the X in the center of your grip. If you're a two-hander, you have to use that for your grip. But, yeah, some of these guys that all of a sudden, like, they get a ball that's drilled pretty neutral, and all of a sudden, like, oh, I can just.
Yeah, if it's
Throw the
drilled
back up.
exactly neutral, let's say
Yeah.
no positive, no negative, and you've got, let's say, a pin right above the fingers, or maybe even right below. You can go both ways with that ball because it's neutral.
You mentioned being able to come back from adversity, Norm, and here's Kyle Troop on a 4-bagger after that really rough start, stepping up in the 11th frame, looking to still get to 194 and make a save.
Oh, I love that shot. Looked like he wanted a little touch on it so it'd make a move into the pins, and it overmoved.
So he's going to be in the 180s this game. He's going to need a pretty solid pop to get to, well, he's not going to reach what Graham Fa put up last year when Graham Fa put up 1631 for 6. Ouch. Nothing like a little plus 430 for 6 games. Averaging 272 or whatever it may have been. So,
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
So Kyle's going to move pairs. He'll be, I think we moved 3 pairs this last game. So that's one of the neat parts about this event too. It's not like some places you go and it's like, oh, you just move 1 pair every game to the right or something like that. You cross the whole house like you do at a PBA Tour event. Every squad on the PBA Tour, they don't just hit part of the house. They go across the whole house, whether it's 20 lanes, 40 lanes, 60 lanes. You get the whole house. So.
Right, and you know, Tom and the PBA, when they devised this event, they said, we want it to play absolutely identical to what the pros do on a daily basis. No more of this 3 games on 1 pair of lanes like you do in league, or maybe you bowl on a pair and then you move 1 to the right, move 1 to the right like they do in so many of the tournaments. But this is, hey, look, what do they do on the PBA Tour in qualifying? Well, that's what you're going to do when you come to the PBA LBC National Championship.
So they should be moving to this pair, 27 and 28. So we'll have a few frames before we get that together. So, hey, drop your questions for Norm in the chat. We're going to take a little short audio break again here. And we'll have the 6th and final game of this opening squad.
And you know what an audio
shortly.
break is, don't you? That's like get your coffee.
Right. Get a snack, grab what you need to do. And, hey, everybody, get ready, too, because you're going to see Norm and Tom Clark on our opening ceremonies. That starts at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. 1:30 p.m. here in Mount Prospect, and Norm will be out there. We're not going to say what the surprise is yet, but there's a special surprise going on for our opening ceremonies this year that some of the bowlers that are on the squad are going to be involved in. So it's going to be pretty neat.
Well, I have
You're
no
gonna wanna
idea
tune
what
in.
you're talking about, Phil.
I'll fill you in on the break.
I will learn as you learn, folks.
But I'll fill you on the break. But everybody else tune back in at 1:30 for that. But we got one more game on this opening squad remaining for the 2025 PBA LBC National Championships. So we're going to follow a couple of hot hands for you here on the main feed. Luke Switalski being one of them. And how about that? Take the 10 down for Switalski after first frame open. Switalski making a run at the squad lead for the Open and Classic division. Switalski under the age of 18, but those bowlers do have a choice of bowling in a scratch division, whether it's the Open Classic for anyone or the Women's Classic for young ladies. They can move up like Gianna Brandolino did last year, try to earn a little additional scholarship money. Pook. Yeah, I don't know. This is the second year we're at Bolero Mount Prospect. I don't know what the plans are for how often it may move from city to city. I mean, after the first year, it moved about 90 miles south down to the Chicagoland area from Bolero Wauwatosa. But yeah, it's kind of neat that with the PBA LBC being here the second year in a row. I like this center. 36 lanes, it's nice. The staff here very friendly. The manager, Gina Dodero, is an absolute sweetheart of a human being. She might look a little gruff on the exterior on occasion when you catch her first thing in the morning. But like anybody, hey, we're not all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed every morning, but I'll tell you what, Gina and her staff keep this center clean. They keep it well running. I've seen one out of range today, and that was taken care of pretty quickly. I've seen or heard no other ball or machine calls. So this is great center to have the event, and it might move around. I mean, I might get a few frequent flyer miles on my account. I'm sure my production assistant Rogue wouldn't mind getting a little traveling during the summer on occasion as well. My wife wouldn't mind joining me. So bowling next Saturday at 2 p.m. No pros scheduled next Saturday. There's actually a list that they're going to be publishing on the PBA LBC tournament site on the PBA.com page. Otherwise, check the social media too on Facebook. There is a PBA League Bowler Certification Facebook page. Check that as well, because then you'll see all the PBA exempt players that'll be on the lanes. They don't really have a list of, let's say, higher level amateurs. Let's say like we see with a Luke Switalski or other amateurs we've seen over the time. Other PBA players that may not be in the exempt part of the program. But you can find out. Yeah, unfortunately, YouTube kind of cuts on its own. It doesn't realize when we have something going on, so apologies. Yeah, so no pros next weekend. On the 7th and 8th, no PBA exempt pros. There might be some PBA regional players coming in as well, but there's no listing of actually who's on a squad that's published anywhere. But you can get the exempt player listing on the PBA LBC Facebook page. So PBA League Bowler Certification, that page is on Facebook. They'll have the list there for you. Along with, just ask when you check in. Our office staff here in the tournament office will be more than happy to let you know if there's some names you might know on your squad. And even if we don't have a main feed, such as next weekend, I'll still be here handling the live streaming. Feel free to say hi, talk a little bowling, talk a little PBA, talk a little Brew City bowling, TV show I've been doing in Milwaukee. So give me my one and only plug for that today on the show. It's a fun little bowling show. It's kind of like the LBC. Any average can bowl it. You only get 4 frames on our show to get a chance to win cash and some great prizes. So we had our last show of our 30-week season this morning in Milwaukee on My 24. Good to have bowling on broadcast TV once again. I think we're the only broadcast TV bowling other than the PBA out there. I know in New England, especially in Western New York, they have Beat the Champ presented by Storm. And I think their season ended last week or it's ending this week. But that's on MSG Network, so that's on satellite and cable. But still, you can catch that on YouTube as well. You talk about seeing some phenomenal amateurs and regional pros from Western New York, Eastern Pennsylvania that make the trip to bowl that event. And Justin Wyman and his crew, they put my production to shame. I'll tell you that. Justin's and his crew handle all the LED boards you see on television for the PBA, and they use those LED boards that Justin has during their production. Let's take a peek in on Kyle Troop. Sotalski's starting to find a little bit of a struggle here. Troop looking to get a double. Isn't going to happen with that wrap 10. Yeah, let's check in on Austin Grammer. As Gramerson just below 1,200. And 4-bagger strike spare through the first 7 for Grammer. So it's going to be a battle for our Open Classic Division leader between a couple of young guns here in our opening squad. Kyle Troop by default is going to be leading our PBA exempt squad. And once again, that exempt division has their own prize money and standing sheet. But you can pick a PBA exempt pro as your doubles partner or 4-player team partner. For those optional side events, it's $25 per player. If you want to bowl doubles with Justin Knowles on June 14th at 2 p.m., you just have to pay before you bowl or before Justin bowls. Pay that entry fee, $25 per player, so $50 for doubles. And then you count your first 3 games as scored. And we've got Norm back in the booth. And Norm, Kyle's still struggling a bit. And our other 2 players with Luke Sutalski and Austin Graham. Austin's got a little something going here in the final game. Luke's struggling a bit. It's amazing how fast lanes transition nowadays, even at this level where it's a mix of amateur and professional players, than they did even 15, 20 years ago on.
Well, yeah, especially, because there's a lot more oil in lanes, number 1. And number 2, every ball you throw tracks oil down in the back, it picks oil up on the front. Back in the day when we had plastic balls only, it took us 5 games just to be able to move a couple left. Now you're moving 3 or 4, 5 or 6 during practice. The game's changed quite a bit, and you know what? It's up to us to change with it.
Speaking of which, changes that have gone on. Back before you were with Storm, somebody in the chat dropped in the Champion's Ultimate Weapon as being one of the greatest bowling balls of all time.
I won the Masters with that ball. Yeah.
So do you still have any of your Champion's bowling balls on display at home or hiding in a rack somewhere? Or?
Yeah, I have an undrilled Norm Duke hammer. I have an undrilled Ultimate Weapon.
Okay.
And then I have an undrilled reactive resin Ultimate Weapon. And so everything that had my name on it, I kept one. Of course I did,
Right.
I'm gullible. And I have a T-shirt too. The brand spanking new T-shirt over there. It's got the Duke the Duke trophy on the back. Cassie gives me one every year, and I appreciate her for that.
Yeah, lots of. I just saw, for those of us up here in the cool winter weather, once that comes around in a few months, you now have the PBA Tour scarf available with the H5G booth. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, when it gets a little chilly, you can root on the PBA, and
if it gets hot, you can wipe your ball off with a scarf.
That's a really long towel you got yourself there. No, that's my scarf. Of course, in a bowling center, sometimes you watch the fans. When it's comfortable for the bowlers, the fans always seem to be a little bit chilly And you can wrap that scarf around you while you're watching your favorite player here at the LBC Championships.
Nice shot right there on lane 33. Looks like 33.
So we're wrapping up, down to the final frames here, Game 6. Once again, opening ceremonies, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. here in Bolero Mount Prospect. Tune in. It's going to be fun. It's not going to be just a bunch of people talking, hey, welcome to the LBC, here's this, here's that. No, this is going to have a really fun facet to the opening ceremonies. This will be our third opening ceremonies. This is going to be, I think, the best one yet, Norm. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
You got me looking forward to it, and I don't even know what you're talking about.
Let's see if Cal can get the big finish here. Somebody asked in the chat, what do you mean? Norm doesn't have any undrilled LT-48s.
It had Johnny Petraglia's name on there.
Ooh, big trip there for Kyle, leaving just the 10. So it's always good getting a run into Johnny. Once again this year, for the past bunch of years, I've been going out to Parker Bowen's scholarship tournament in New Jersey in September, and it's always good because it's the home center for 3 generations of great professionals. You've got Johnny Petraglia Jr., or Johnny Petraglia. Jr.'s back out there now, so I see Johnny Jr. out there. Johnny Petraglia, Parker Bowen III, and Matt Russo all had a good chunk of their career at Howell Lanes in Howell, New Jersey. And there's a nice mural in the bar area of the 3 of them bowling, and yeah, it's really neat. But it's such a great event, and just to be able to sit there and talk with Johnny for an hour is
I tell you what,
the neatest thing.
When you look back at Johnny's life, and he's definitely helped protect us.
Yep.
He was wartime, and I've seen some photos, and of course listening to the stories that he has. Oh my gosh, it's endless, and I've never heard the same story twice, Phil. Never in my life have I heard the same story twice. And so when Johnny starts talking, he will then just suck all of the players around. We will just start gathering to hear. Some of his stories are just wonderful. We are the luckiest sport ever to have people like Johnny still representing us.
Yep.
And he does a great job at that, by the way.
50 years of BBL, and that's one of the, I think the PBA has done a great thing, because now for the past several years, and when bowlers can be bowlers sometimes and get themselves that fine slip, now from Tony Lanning, and it used to be from John Weber or Kirk Von Kruger, that fine money goes to the BVL, Bowlers of Veterans Link, and Johnny's been involved with that for 50 years. And now there's some PBA Tour players that are helping out with fundraising and that for BVL, including E.J. Tackett and Packy Hanrahan. So
of course,
to see the involvement of the tour to help our veterans out, and it's not just the veterans from Johnny's era with Vietnam. There's still veterans from the Korean War around. There's still a few veterans from World War II around. And you can't forget about the veterans that were there for Desert Storm or operations in Afghanistan and everywhere else. So it's great that how much bowling helps these veterans out, because, once again, it's one of those sports. We've had bowlers out here the last couple of seasons in wheelchairs that are veterans that had war wounds from combat, and they still get a chance. They love the bowl, and they come here and they bowl.
Yeah, and it's not only the BVL. We also have Folds of Honor. I've helped raise money for Folds of Honor for, 3 decades now. So Next Level Bowling, we do events for the Folds. And, boy, I tell you what, if not for them, then we would be up on that approach worrying about more than just getting a strike. They gave us the freedom that we just take for granted every day of our life. And, look, we appreciate that freedom, and we thank all of our service members out there and their families.
Yes. Yeah, Johnny always done with BBL. Did you ever hear the story with Johnny and about Johnny and Joe Louis, the boxer, the famous boxer?
I doubt that.
You have to have Johnny tell you.
Well, you got to tell it now, because the people are listening.
It's a great story. So Johnny had just gotten back from Vietnam, and they were visiting Walter Reed Medical Center in Washington, D.C., because a lot of the severe injuries for the people in combat were treated at Walter Reed after they were flown back stateside. And so here's Johnny giving back, and they were pairing athletes up to go cheer everybody, visit the wounded and cheer them up. And Johnny just thought, okay, I'm doing this, and he was a little nervous that he goes, and then they pair me up with Joe Louis, one of the most famous people in the world at the time, especially from his boxing days. And Joe was in his late 50s, early 60s by that time. He goes, and Joe made me feel so at ease. And then after they got done, Joe wrote Johnny a letter thanking him for what he did that day. Like, here's Joe. He goes, I'm just a bowler. Here I am, and here's Joe Louis taking the time to thank me for giving back to my fellow servicemen. After he goes, it just touched my heart. He goes, I still have that letter to this day.
Oh, it's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Some of the things that these other athletes from all the other sports, what they can do. Some of them recognize it, some of them don't. But those that go the extra mile, that investment is felt worldwide.
Yeah.
And we appreciate all of the things that these athletes do for their brothers.
So Kyle Tripp trying for the big finish here. He maxed out at 214, so it's he'll probably, if he gets to 214, he'll finish about 150 over. Maybe a little. My math's off. That's 1220 for 5, so he's 200 over.
And he has
coming
moved
back.
He's moved quite a bit to the right, and his ball's still not getting up. I also watched his fiancee Brianna. She just left the bucket with the 7.
Yeah.
So look, you can take a look at those lanes. They're in the 30s. So what do we know? Well, we know the low teens are going to hook a lot more, or I say a lot more, at least a little more, than the whole house. We know that the 20s to 30s are going to be the slickest down lane. And we know that the end pairs, let's say that tall end at 30s, 35, 30, they're going to be a little slicker, but they're going to be a little more hook on the back end.
Right.
So the ends are going to play quite similar. Yeah. But the middles, you're going to have hook on the low teens, you're going to have tightness in the low 20s. So if you can now memorize that, you can bring your game in here and you can take a real shot at the dude.
Yeah. And one thing that could kind of get these exempt pros a little bit, when they're on tour, they know who they're following. They got the ball rubs out, so they can kind of make those adjustments. If I've never met Luke Switalski before, I've never met Chris Hill before, and I don't know their game, and all of a sudden I'm following them in their pairs, it's kind of a mystery to these players
it's a
as
mystery.
they go across. So
of
they
course.
Got to make the educated guess at the move. But then if you make an educated guess and don't physically execute your first 2 shots, you could find yourself in the world of hurt early. Probably what happened to Kyle in Game 5 when he had all those opens.
Oh, definitely. And listen, I want you to realize that many times people think, well, that was me. Well, that was me. Well, that was me. Well, you know what? It might have been a little bit of you, but it also might have been a little bit of the change that you're going through because you just crossed 20 pairs. So look, be nimble and give yourself a little break and say, yeah, that may have been a little bit of me, but I'm going to make a little adjustment, maybe halfway to full, maybe the full adjustment, simply because it's not always you.
So one more question before we get to break. Somebody asked about bowling in Europe. How often did you chance to go to Europe? We talked about Asia before. And did you see any difference between the European bowlers and the American bowlers? Nowadays, not so much because there's so many players from Europe that come over. Let's be honest, that have
they're part of our tour.
Part of our tour, yeah. I mean,
and when we were, let's say, when I was growing up in the 80s, 90s, we did not have a whole lot of representation from other countries. We have more right now than we have ever had by far. I think Amleto was one of the spearheads there when we're talking about
Mats Carlson.
And Mats. Oh my gosh,
that figure 8 arm swing.
Yeah, I got to bowl Mats a lot of times on TV. Well, I went to Paris once and I bowled there. Helsinki, Finland, back in the day when everything that we did was 10-foot snowbanks on both. You had no idea what the city of Finland looked like because you couldn't see anything, But then you walk in a bowling center and everything became familiar. And those players are so good. It's just like the golf tour. That European tour is strong, and they're cut out for it. And when you look at the bowling, yes, they're strong.
Yeah.
And if you want to look at Dom Barrett, you want to look at all of the players that come over here and play. Jesper just won,
won the playoffs and the TOC.
It's right. My gosh.
So it was a pretty good month of April and May there for Jesper, no doubt about it. And now with the expansion of the PBA, now there's PBA Sweden for a kind of regional program that Tom worked with Martin Larsson on.
Yeah.
So they have 3 regional events, and then the Lucky Larsson's going to count towards that. And so there's going to be some Swedish bowlers that are going to earn entries into the Regional Players Invitational on
Right.
both the PBA 50 side and the Standard Division. And then top players are also going to receive invitations in the main field at the World Series of Bowling in 2026. So pretty neat to see the PBA expanding. They're back in Japan with PBA Japan. They have PBA Sweden. And according to Tom Clark from a couple of weeks ago when I had a chance to talk to him at an event, there's more to come.
More to
for
come,
expansion.
and there should be. And you know what? That's the Professional Bowlers Association. It does not say United States Bowlers Association at all. So why not be global, right?
Exactly.
And when Tom came up with the World Series of Bowling back in the day, his vision was to have so many countries involved. And now look, his vision has come to pass, and we are enjoying now so many events being won by players from other countries.
Right, absolutely. So this is the last game of this squad. We'll be back 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 here inside of Bolero Mount Prospect for the opening ceremonies. Our next squad will start at 2 o'clock. Norm's going to be part of the opening ceremonies. You're going to join us for a game or two during the 2 o'clock squad from what I was
Oh,
told.
absolutely. I'm here
So
all
get you a
day,
couple-
folks.
Yeah. So,
And now listen, if you're interested in competing in this event, go online and get your entry in. I'm telling you what, when you see this, you're just going to love it. And besides that, there's $65,000 goes to that victor along with the Duke Trophy.
right, absolutely. So,
And I'm guessing that's what it was last year. Is it the same this
I
year?
think it was 60 last year.
60.
You're right, 60. But yeah, still, it's it's a lot of cash, and that's all thrown in by the PBA. That's all added money in the clash, and they added over $30,000 to all the prize funds throughout the divisions last year as well. So
And maybe Phil Brilo will come up with that extra 5 I just mentioned. Right?
I'll have to see what Tom Clark can do to boost my fee here on the live
Yeah,
stream.
there you
so.
go.
So yeah, Norm will be back this afternoon. There are a couple of questions we didn't get to. We'll make sure we get to them on that squad. There's people waiting to talk to you, Norm. It's incredible
awesome.
to see. So yeah, so he's Norm Duke. I'm $2 Phil. See us back here.
$2
1:30.
Phil, about to
$2
be
Phil's back.
$2.50.
That's right.
I will get a second degree.